Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Now today I'm doing something a little bit different, which is probably why the audio doesn't sound as good. I'm recording this using my DSLR microphone, so I apologise if the sound quality isn't up to scratch. But this is something I've had a lot of requests for. It's to show my racing setup. Now I will caveat this video straight away by saying my setup is definitely nothing worth making note of, to be honest. It's nothing you see on Instagram, on these pages or Reddit, but it is something I think may help some of you guys if you are building a new setup or you're trying to build a setup which is something you can fold away, because I actually use the space we're in now as an office as well, especially during all this COVID stuff. I've been working from home a lot. This is a room that I have to double up as an office and a sim racing room, so my setup is designed in a way in which I can put it away and fold it and kind of move it around very, very quickly. So to begin with, this is probably the view that you've become accustomed to seeing, which is my Fanatec Formula V2 wheel and my ultra-wide monitor. So if we begin by stepping back, and you have to bear with me with the focus because I'm doing all this manually. This is the setup as a whole. So as you can see, I'm actually using this on just an oak desk, and I've got my keyboard on a chair and I've got the Playseat Challenge setup, but there is more to it than that. So I'll begin with the monitor. So when I first started sim racing again at the start of the year, I just had that on its stand and I would just slide it forward to the edge of the desk. But what I've done since then, I've actually purchased a monitor arm which is mounted to the table, and it's on gas struts, and it can be pushed right away up against the wall, which actually saves a little bit of desk space because it's an ultra wide. It had a really big stand that took up a lot of the table, so it can go right up there and we can swing it upwards. You know, you've got a lot more options with it. But then when I'm sim racing, I can swing it right down, and it's actually, you know, as you can see here, it's level with the table, or it's actually, you know, I can bring it a little bit lower than that. If I bring it around the back, you can see the arm here can actually go right down to table level, but I've got this set up as I need it for racing currently. So that's the first thing. This is an LG 36-inch ultra-wide monitor. It's 2K. I think I got it about 2 years ago for about £400. It's not a bad monitor. I actually didn't buy it for sim racing. I do a lot of video editing. That's my kind of side job, and a big monitor like this allows me to have multiple windows open at once, which is great for video editing. And as it happens, it's pretty good for sim racing as well. So that's my monitor setup on the arm, and I can easily swing it into place. Now that brings it down, as you can see, when I'm kind of, from my perspective, it's not too bad. I've got my phone set up there, which I'll show you shortly. I've got the kind of the view without the steering wheel turned on, so from my perspective it's pretty accurate once I'm racing. Obviously you don't get the greatest field of view, but I think I've got the FOV. It's, you know, it's not set up scientifically using one of those FOV calculators, but I've got it set so it feels realistic, but also I'm not compromised that I can't see enough of the track or anything like that. So then the seat itself, as I've said, is the Playseat Challenge. Now, Playseat Challenge, we've all seen it before, nothing special about it, but I have done a few little modifications around it, which I'll show you now. Again, a quick caveat is, please excuse the wires. Of course, the fact this is a temporary foldable, fold-away setup means there isn't too much I can do about the wire scenario. You can see those wires dangling down the back. There for the monitor, they have to have slack there, so I can push it back, and then when I pull it forward, it's not dragging things around. So there is quite a lot of wire slack, but again, you have to forgive me for that because it is a setup that I fold away. In any other circumstance, when I have a bigger house and I have a permanent setup, the wires will very neatly be organised. So when I first got this, it's obviously kind of set up in a GT position. So since then, I've done a little bit of tinkering. I've got this piece of wood down here, which is just from B&Q. Well, it's two pieces of wood that I've bolted together with some felt underneath for grip, and that underneath the front legs there lifts obviously the front legs, and it lifts this bar higher up, because then what I've done at the back is I've got another piece of wood again just trying to get this to focus, bear with me 1 second, sorry about this, there we go. I've got a piece of timber underneath, and on that is this, which is the Thrustmaster pedal mount. Now obviously I've never had Thrustmaster pedals. In fact, this is the only Thrustmaster item I've ever owned. Before this I had the Logitech, and now I've got the Fanatec. So what I've actually got is my pedals are mounted to the Playseat Challenge pedal board, and underneath that is the Thrustmaster stand which sits on a piece of timber. Now this has all been calculated and tested, a lot of different kind of trial and error. at first I didn't have this one under my feet, I just lifted that, but obviously the problem is there, you're lifting your feet, but you're not lifting this bar, so eventually your knee is going to come into collision with this, so you have to raise this up as well. Now you could, you know, go further and further and higher and higher. This for me is a setup which works perfectly. It's very, very stable. I've just got for the moment the pedal zip tied onto this so I can lift this away easily, because it's not very easy to bolt, or you can't actually bolt it to this Playseat system. You get a Velcro strap with it, which doesn't really work when you've got the CSL Elite pedals, because it's such a wide pedal base. As you can see at the moment, I've just got the CSL Elite pedals, which you've seen in my reviews, not the load cell or anything like that, just brake and accelerator. Happy with them for now, and it's very stable. This doesn't move at all. Obviously I race with my racing boots on, you're never going to catch your feet on any of this stuff, but it gives you that more racing position. Your feet are up higher, and my knees, I've got loads of space here. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall, just 6'1", and you know, I'm nice and comfortable in this position. As well as that, I've actually put these Recaro, again, sorry about the focus, these are Recaro seatbelt straps, which I got off eBay for about £10 from China. It took so long to come that I actually forgot they were coming, but they just go over, because this has got such kind of sharp edges to it. When you're climbing in and out, it's just a bit uncomfortable, so this makes them a little bit comfier on either side. And I've actually got, taken straight out of my car, just a lumbar support pillow, which is actually really, really helpful when you're racing for quite a while. And as you can see here, these are my karting boots, which I wear. I literally cannot sim race anymore without these, just because I've done it for so long, I've got used to it now. These are my KS3 kart boots, which I do use for karting. I bought these initially for karting, and now probably since lockdown, put a lot more hours in with them in here than I have on the track. But they're very, very comfortable, they're great. They're kind of suede Alcantara. I have waterproofed them, which is worth doing if you are using them on track and stuff out in the real world. So they're my boots. And then as we move along here, there's this little modification, which again I'm just going to get it to focus on. This little modification is something I highly recommend if you are getting a Playseat challenge. You'll have seen stuff online about this. I have left a link to it before in another video, but I'll link it again. This is essentially just a 3D printed piece of plastic, but you can't see all of it. There's also a peg, and what you do is there's a push button here. You release this, and your arm bar for your Playseat will come out, and you just take a hammer and hammer in the plastic peg, and then click this back over, and this is tight against here, and it just makes things a little bit tighter. It removes a little bit of the play that you might get in there. So as you can see now, I have this. I actually find with the Playseat that having it like that isn't as tight a lock as if you have it, there's like a point, you feel it there when it loosens, and then it's nice and tight there. So it's going to sound weird now, you'll be able to see me wobble this now, but when I'm sat in it and there's weight in it, it doesn't move around as much. But this is a pretty stable setup, there isn't too much movement in this. Even with, you know, I run the wheel at 100% force feedback, just as standard settings, and I run it in Assetto Corsa. You know, I've got it on quite a high level of force feedback, and I do not feel it moving at all when I'm using it. It's not something that's an issue at any point. So again, won't go into too much detail because you've seen this a lot of times. This is my Fanatec V2. What I will show you briefly, because I get a lot of comments on Facebook about this, is the stickers. If the camera will focus, this is from a guy on Instagram called Lion GP. He makes all of these stickers here. I think it was only about £5 for a set of his stickers, so I got them and put them on, you know, where I'm using certain buttons and stuff. It's kind of trying to balance it between the two games I play, F1 and Assetto Corsa, to try and make the use of both of those button layouts. And then this is something I get a lot of questions about: my mobile phone mount. So I'm using the app called SimDash, which is an app that costs about £10 to have it for life, you know, just off the App Store, which is well worth it. So if I take my phone out of there, this is a Galaxy S10 Plus, because you have to buy obviously the correct 3D printed part. Again, I will leave a link to this in the comments down in the description down below. This is from a guy off eBay. I think it was about €15, maybe a little bit more, and it actually bolts on to the kind of additional bolt holes that the Fanatec Club Sport base has, which I think is a great thing, a great design feature. They have all these extra bolts on both sides for you to be able to kind of mount additional stuff. Eventually one day I'm going to get the button box that can go on here on the other side with a start stop button. So yeah, this is a 3D printed bit. It bolts on using the bolts that come with the base. You don't even have to go out and buy any bolts, just bolt straight in, You get the app up on your phone, you sit that in there, and away you go. When I'm in my, from my perspective, I've made it so it kind of, hopefully, it sits perfectly, in line with the dashboard in front of me. So yeah, that's my phone mount setup. Now for everything else, again, I just kind of use my chair. I just swing my chair out when I'm using this as an office space and just put my keyboard on there. I have this small little kind of bucket seat castor oil thing that I use. It's great as just a mouse mat, and I store some stuff in that. That again just sits over there when I'm not using it. And again, you have to forgive me for the wires because it all has to be moved around quite a lot. And then for headphones, I have, when I used to be sponsored by Rocat back in the day, these were brand new. Actually, I found these unboxed, never touched, in my cupboard in about February. These are 7.1 Rocat Cave XTDs from my gaming sponsored days, and I never used them before. I got them out and they're great. 7.1 surround sound, especially when you're playing a game like Assetto Corsa Competizione, which has great sound design. It is really good to use. My mechanical keyboard, which I bought this with my first ever YouTube paycheck back in 2012, and it's never given up on me since. Love that thing. And then down here, the actual computer itself, which is again nothing to really write home about. It's a bit old now. This is a custom built computer. It's got an i7 770K processor. I think I said too many sevens then. It's got a 780 Ti NVIDIA graphics card that's overclocked. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM. I built this back in the day when I was doing full-time YouTube with Battlefield and stuff, and it's good enough. I still get about, well, even though I'm not moving anywhere now, I'm getting 70 frames a second in ultra settings in Assetto Corsa right now. In a race with 20 cars, the most it'll ever go down to on a busy track is maybe 50 frames a second, but not often. F1 2020, which is even easier to run, I can get like 90 frames a second in that. So the computer does its job for this 2K monitor. I don't have any need to upgrade that just yet. So that's kind of it. That's kind of the setup. As I said, not very overwhelming, but it might help you guys at all with if you're thinking of trying to do something like this, especially if you want to have a bit more of a formula style seating position, how you can go about doing that. Any other little things that I may have missed? My gloves, I get a lot of questions about these to save the Alcantara. These are the matching gloves for my boots. These are the KS4 OMP karting gloves. Again, I use these for karting, and they're really great. They're thin enough to be able to manipulate all the buttons without any problem, but they're thick enough to actually, they don't wear out. They do the job. And that's about it. Anything else in this room? I have a couple of karting trophies. I have some racing models, or some Metal Gear Solid figures from the one of my favourite series of all time, Metal Gear Solid. Some good Star Wars stuff, and one of those Lego kind of Lego Technics, that's the one. Le Mans 24-hour Porsche. It's actually not Lego, it's Lepin, it's the fake one. Cost about 30 quid rather than 130 quid, and it's identical. I could not fault it. So yeah, check out Lepin if you want to get some cool Lego for very, very cheap. But that's about it. There's nothing else really to show you guys here, but it's something that I've had a lot of requests for, so I hope you guys have found this somewhat interesting. I apologise for the absolutely horrific camera work and focus work there, but it's all being done on the fly. If you have any further questions about any of this setup, tell me down in the comments below, and in the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next video.